Farewell, Earth's Bliss was one of my favorite books that I've read recently, so I knew I had to go along and give D.G. Compton another try. And even if his books were trash, I felt obligated to because of that incredible name he has. So I obviously also had to go ahead and commission a fake producer tag for him on Fiverr.
D.G. Compton.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's get into the book. The continuous Katherine Mortenhoe centers around, Katherine Mortenhoe, who is a 44-year-old editor. She gets diagnosed with a terminal illness with no way for it to be treated. She'll die in 3 to 4 weeks at the most after some psychological and physical deterioration. The thing is, diagnoses like this are incredibly rare in Compton's future. Because of medical progression, next to nobody is dying from anything except old age. This makes Katherine an instant celebrity, specifically in the sense that she's getting calls from tons of TV producers wanting to film her final days on Earth, reality TV style. One such reporter is Roddy, who is our other main character. What's unique about him is he got this camera implanted into his eyes, such that everything he sees is streamed back to his TV station. Okay, so the book swaps perspectives between Katherine and Roddy as Katherine tries to privately cope with her passing, but she's constantly accosted by TV men trying to profit off her suffering, including Roddy. I could tell from the first chapter that I loved this book because for the entire time that I was reading this book, all the way back from the first chapter, I pretty much never stopped thinking about it. I was telling my friends and family about the themes and how it made me feel, and I kept even just going back to my notes when I wasn't reading just to add more thoughts I had throughout the day while I was thinking about the book. The continuous Katherine Mortenhoe does what all good social science fiction does, which is that it presents you with this really morally intriguing scenario and it forces you to sit with it. I loved it. Maybe the most simple theme about this book is that, Katherine's dying, and it's something that we see her cope with in real time. Quote, "It was other people who died, not she," Katherine thinks. She starts off understandably flailing a little bit. She's shocked about her diagnosis, and she struggles a bit with what to do about it. What does it mean to be dead? To die? She learns that, quote, "The concept was meaningless. Dead was dead, utter, incomprehensible. Dead was nowhere. Dead wasn't coffins, mourners, crematories. Dead was an intolerable nowhere." Soon she enters a bit more of the acceptance phase and recognizes a certain freedom in her eyes that comes from dying. And with this acceptance comes some really, really astute observations. The one that really stuck with me came in the form of a conversation between Katherine and Roddy. Katherine talks about computers and how they don't really know anything and they just transmit and redirect signals as they're instructed. Roddy chimes in and he's like, yeah, I understand, I gotcha. And Katherine's like, no, you don't. You understand these things kind of in a theoretical sense, in the same way that a computer can think in a theoretical sense. You sometimes can't understand the beauty of life or the importance of family or anything to an ultimate degree until you reach it under the distress of a traumatic position like the dying position that Katherine's in. And this was the first time I had ever seen this relayed in a book, and it was really cool. It was this great conversation about how sometimes it's impossible for people to fully grasp something until, unfortunately, they don't have much time left. And even more broadly, it sometimes takes a crazy or even life-threatening event to force a thorough, true understanding of something to the point where it makes you change how you live. Like someone deciding to come clean after nearly ODing, or someone changing how they treat people after they get broken up with. And this sort of backs up this personal belief that I have, that I believe that most defining personality traits or radical beliefs that a person holds can be linked back to a small handful of life-changing events the person has had in their life. Anyway, my point going into all this was just to show you the type of insightful intellectual maturity that you can expect from Compton. It honestly reminded me a lot of Ballard, although it kind of seems like Ballard thrives more on societal commentary, and Compton seems more interpersonal and people-based, at least from what I've read. Anyway, there are also all these really small side quest scenes that explore other themes of death that don't really warrant an entire deep dive, but they're thoroughly interesting. Like Compton explores the morality or fulfillment of living out your final days in euphoric but an abnormal drug-induced state. Katherine also refers to her writings as her immortality, which kind of hits deep with me, as I'm sure there's this element in my content creation and book reviews that I do on my channel and through things like my diary that I write in every day, that is just me like coping with death by feeling like I'm at least leaving something behind. This book had me questioning things from the very first chapter, like where Roddy views Katherine's terminal diagnosis through this one-way mirror in the doctor's office. And it feels so wrong to be a part of that. So pretty obviously, this book is largely about the morality of media that can result in others suffering. And holy shit, is this fucking everywhere in society. Let me just use my own life for an example. When I settle in for bed at night, I watch true crime YouTube, usually details on some particularly vile murder case. When I'm listening to music, I usually am listening to drill music, which perpetuates violence, and when you listen to it, you're pretty much listening to the soundtrack and background of gang warfare. But that's not to say that I don't have a line. As an even more one-to-one comparison to this book, a lot of my friends watch TLC shows like My 600 Pound Life or My Strange Addiction, which are honestly just shows monetizing addictions and eating disorders and OCD and etc. And that makes me fucking sick. It fucking disgusts me that people watch that shit. And if you do, shame on you. How could you support networks so blatantly profiting off traumatic suffering? But wait, isn't that extremely hypocritical of me considering the stuff I just said? Yeah, yep, 100%. And I could go on and on and on with these hypocrisies. I'm disgusted when mass shooters get their faces plastered all over the news because that's literally what they want. Yet I made a video on the Unabomber Manifesto because I found his message interesting. I remember one online content creator that I had followed who got canceled online for like releasing crime scene footage on her Patreon. I'm like, is that much more vile or worse than me looking at some version of it that's been blurred or hearing like graphic retellings? What about like murderabilia, etc., etc.? I think there is a line though. And that's what I love about this book. You're faced with this squarely awful situation and it's impossible to read and not question how you yourself do this in your life. Everyone's got a line and everyone's got a reason as to why they're on the ethical side. And naturally, in the continuous Katherine Mortenhoe, the TV producers have plenty of reasons why their production profiting off the suffering of unlucky victims is okay. One of the major justifications is that they do it without trivializing what they show, which is literally the exact same thing that I hear true crime YouTubers say. They also justify the filming, saying that they're just capturing, quote, real human reactions. They strike home. They are without artifice. The ordinary reactions of ordinary people. They say that this is human nature, that it's an animal's instinct to be attracted to and curious about tragedy and the macabre. And then for a lot of this book, Roddy talks about how guilty he feels covering Katherine's demise, yet he still does it. Does that make him any better, or is he just the same as someone who might enjoy filming her demise? I want to touch on something tangentially related to voyeurism, which is the constant and unsanctioned harassment Katherine receives. She was diagnosed with a tragic condition, and because of that, has to deal with these awful, blood-sucking news people who just want to milk her for content. Literally, all she wants to do is just live out her life humbly and have her days in peace, but throughout the book, she is constantly harassed. On an extreme end, it reminds me of gore, which is, as a terminally online Gen Zer, is literally impossible to completely avoid online. Any of these videos broadcasting tragedy, whether it's tasteless, like some gore clip, or it's dressed up in a news segment, are completely non-consensual on the victim side. There's this really, really painful moment that we have to witness in the book where they broadcast like a naked Katherine, and people are letting out these ironic wolf whistles. And there are plenty of other moments of people watching the footage and just judging Katherine for anything and everything. It makes me fucking sick to read this, honestly, because it's exactly like the people online that are watching like a true crime or gore, and they're like blaming the victims for the victims' handling of the situation or something like that. Like, I've seen so many fucking Reddit videos of someone gravely injured, and all the commenters are like leaving bullshit comments like Darwin Awards or shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. It just reminds me of the fact that, like Katherine, nobody consents to the bullshit that we undergo in life. I didn't ask to be born, yet I have people telling me that if I don't vote for this person, I'm the fucking devil, or if I don't recycle, I'm the Antichrist. Look, nobody asked to be here, so can we at least just look on each other with some fucking grace? I'll be honest, I think that I just took a lot of the shit in this book and I just ran with it in my head. But the musing it provoked was why I love this book so much. I'll admit there were some truly random things in the book that happened, and I'm just like, what? Like, why did this story take a total left turn for a chapter? But the emotion it invoked in me was more than enough to make up for that. There was also a lot of smaller things that I loved and I feel like I need to at least mention. There's this plotline of this very wholesome platonic love, which is a topic and relationship that's rarely highlighted in books that I've read, and I think this is probably the best depiction of it that I've read since The Left Hand of Darkness. Also, I just love Compton's writing style. Compton writes in a way that makes me kind of just smile, like pleased the entire time, whether it be an ironic joke or some clever phrasing and flow. This is a book that I really wish I had read with my mom or with a friend, because I'd love to hear someone else's thoughts on this stuff. So I want to open the floor to you. I'm sincerely curious as to what my commenters out there think about the themes of this book. Where is the line for media that may take advantage of someone? How do you decide what media is okay to consume? I think it's all really interesting stuff to think about. Be kind to yourself. Thanks for watching.
Listen